Friends, greetings from Tanzania on World AIDS Day. Today is a moment to honor over 40 million lives lost to AIDS, to take stock of the AIDS response, and to commit to ending AIDS by 2030. This week, we launched a new report. We called it Dangerous Inequalities. In it, we called the world's attention to a painful reality. Currently, we are not on track to end AIDS by 2030. And the reason is inequality. But there's good news. By equalizing, we can end AIDS. Firstly, we must equalize for women and girls to reduce their HIV risks. In sub-Saharan Africa, adolescent girls and young women are 3 times more likely to be infected with HIV than boys and men of the same age. The driving factor here is inequality. Enabling girls to stay in school until they complete secondary education reduces their vulnerability to HIV infection by up to 50%. When we include comprehensive sexuality education and other measures for girls' empowerment, then their risk is reduced even further. That is why 12 African countries have come together, supported by the African Union, in the Education Plus initiative that is supported by the UN to make this happen. Beyond this, we must combine services for sexual and reproductive health together with services for preventing and responding to sexual and gender-based violence and services for HIV. They must be designed to work for all women and girls in all their diversity. That way, we equalize for women and girls. Secondly, we must equalize for marginalized people. Discrimination against marginalized people is hurting the HIV response. Globally, gay men and other men who have sex with men are 28 times more likely to be infected with HIV. People who inject drugs have 35 times the risk. Sex workers, 30 times the risk, and transgender women, 14 times the risk. We will not end AIDS unless we can end it for everyone. The evidence is clear. When you decriminalize, people will come forward for services. Decriminalization saves lives. Take South Africa, where same-sex relationships are legal. Gay men are 60% more likely to be living with HIV than other men. But in Uganda, where gay men are criminalized, they are 240% more likely to be with HIV than other men. In Asia, in Thailand, where same-sex relationships are legal, gay men are 11 times more likely to be living with HIV than other men. But go to Malaysia, where gay men are criminalized. They are 72 times more likely to be living with HIV. But here's the good news. There's a growing momentum from Asia to Africa to the Caribbean for decriminalizing same-sex relationships. In recent years, unlike countries like Angola, Bhutan, and Botswana have decriminalized, in the past few months alone, St. Kitts and Nevis, Singapore, Antigua and Barbuda have decriminalized. In 68 countries, these laws still exist. Let's consign these harmful and colonial laws to history. But we don't only need to decriminalize. We need to fight stigma. Stigma is the sentence passed by society on people for who they are. And stigma kills. We need to end stigma for people living with HIV and for marginalized communities. Here, we need every leader to step in, political leaders, faith leaders, traditional leaders, cultural leaders. Rise, equalize. And thirdly, an inequality that breaks my heart is that against children living with HIV. With the science that we have today, no baby should be born with HIV, and no child who has HIV should not be on treatment. But today, while 3/4 of adults living with HIV are on treatment, only half of children with HIV are. This is intolerable. We will not allow this shameful and avoidable injustice to continue. That is why the UN, international partners, civil society, and governments from 12 countries with the highest burden have come together and formed the Global Alliance to End AIDS in Children. We're moving. Tanzania, here where I am, will host the official launch early next year. Lastly, and crucially, to end AIDS, we must tackle the inequalities in resourcing. COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine have increased inequality worldwide. Every single day, G20 countries receive $136 million in debt repayments from poor countries in the South. Meanwhile, in these countries, debt repayments are 4 times more than they spend on health, twice what they spend on education. This is an injustice. In the midst of a crisis of debt, austerity, and inequality hitting developing countries, some rich countries have also cut back aid for global health, and considering even deeper cuts. This is not right. Now is not the time to step away. It is the time to step up. Remember, it is through international solidarity that we reduced inequalities in financing and made amazing gains against HIV, including bringing more than 28 million people onto life-saving treatment. We must complete the job. On World AIDS Day, UNAIDS joins with people living with HIV around the world, communities around the world, and we have one call to action, which is equalize. Equalize access to rights, equalize access to services, equalize access to resources, equalize access to the best science and medicine. This is how we will end AIDS. Thank you.